of different experiences of being sort of displaced. Sometimes when I was young, my dad would stay with a girlfriend or move in with her, and I didn't always have a place to stay there, so I was sleeping on couches or on their children's floors. And it's just a very unsettling feeling. I started doing well in a coffee shop, and people started coming to see me, and it was getting exciting. And one night, a record label was coming to see me. And I wanted clean hair, and so not having a shower, I would wash my hair in public restrooms. And there was a Denny's down the street, and so I went into the Denny's, and I remember the faucet was really low, and so you had to stick your head in sideways to get your hair wet. And I was just using hand soap to wash my hair, and had washed it, and I was using a paper towel to dry it, and little bits of paper towel were sticking in my hair, and I was picking out, but I was humming the whole time because I was so excited that this record label was coming to see me. And it wasn't until I flipped my hair back and I looked in the mirror that I could see that there was a line of women behind me that were very annoyed because they couldn't wash their hands while I was washing my hair. And they looked horrified. They looked at me like they were pressed up against the wall as if they could catch something from me. And I suddenly saw myself through their eyes, and I was like, I'm a homeless girl washing my hair in the sink, and these people are horrified of me. They think that they can get some disease from me. And I suddenly was very embarrassed, and I kind of just started to walk out of the restroom quickly, and one turned to the other, and she said, well, she seemed pretty enough. I wonder how she ended up like that.
And I like to write anything. Mostly I like to be Casey's mom.
My very best friend, when I was in 9th grade, I was living in public housing. I lived with her because my mom wasn't ever home. So I lived with her and her mom. They took care of me. We were on food stamps. And I got to see firsthand what public housing is, who lived there. There's a lot of misconceptions that people have, and the more misconceptions you have about homelessness and about public housing, the less compassion and empathy you have for the people that live there.
Home means many things to different people. For some, home is wherever they are, where they hang up their hat. For others, home is where the heart is, where they hang up their hopes. It's our refuge, our shield, our safety. Home. We enter the four walls of home. We go inside. We eat, we play, we rest, out of sight of the outside. We are at home where eyes can't see. Then how are those without a home, without the four walls that conceal them, the most unseen? And what about a home entitles others to believe, to have faith in our worth and potential, and what's found in between? And what happens within a home that allows people to dream? Here are three families with three different stories, some within the four walls of home, some not. How does this shape our beliefs in our future, in each other? Byron's mother raises 3 sons and works full-time in the medical field, but sometimes rent is more than hard work can overcome.
Let's go, rookie.
After moves from houses to friends' couches, Byron and his family found the stability of home, a solid foundation on which to dream.
Growing up, times were rough. There were times that were tougher than others.
That's not even fair.
Coming here, it was just a better opportunity for our family to actually be a family, be our own core family.
That woman is the hardest working woman I've ever seen in my life. She can work 12-hour shifts and she would be there making dinner. If somebody needed homework done, she would go help them.
From a little boy, you would always try to handle things on your own.
We were living with our grandmother. We weren't in a good situation, financial situation.
When my friend was going to apply for public housing, I said, well, why don't I just apply? The schools in that area was much better. I could save money.
It was a struggle coming over here. No, we didn't want to, but I knew where we was trying to get to.
I feel like that they knew that was the best chances for us to survive is to move to, low-income housing. So we can afford to have food on the table and clothes on our back. Probably if resources ran out, like anybody, the only place you really can go is the street. Bouncing around from family to families until you get into a better situation, but that's not the route you want to go. That's not home. That's not a place you can call your home. At least we have the low-income housing. We can say, this is ours. This is where we live. This is where we're gonna survive. This is how we're gonna get through the times now.
My dad said, if you move into public housing, you'll never get out. And I would always say, Dad, you wrong, I'm gonna get out of here. And that was my motivation too.
We didn't have much, but we had everything we needed to survive, and I was just grateful for that. I saw an MRI when I was at JV football, and it was the first time I seen an MRI, and I was like, man, this is some cool stuff.
When he brought the x-ray home, I knew he was interested in medicine, and I knew that he was smart enough to do it.
I think the fire that was kind of lit under me was all the doubters. People try to assume and know where you came from, but they don't know, because those same people, probably the same ones that drove by those projects and drove by those black gates and said, nobody in there would never amount to anything. People like me are just destined to fail, and that didn't sit right with me. Did not sit right with me at all.
Looking beyond the tall fences and past the naysayers, Byron set his sights on rising out of public housing as a doctor.
Nice, huh? Yeah, that's good. Are you hungry or no? I can tell you're hungry. Woo, the party's starting now.
For Rosalio, that family foundation has more cracks. After a tragic incident, his family was forced to find somewhere else to go.
All my brothers and sisters were born in Mexico, and then it was my dad and my mom there. They decided to get papers for all my brothers and sisters. It took them about 2 years. My dad knew more of the inner workings of the States. He landed a job in the ranch. Unfortunately, my dad did make a mistake, which landed him in prison.
Making news right now, one man has died after a shooting on Madison Seaside.
They finally released more information on this murder from last night and say at this point, did you believe
just at this individual and that there were no rounds that were stray, if you will, heading into it?
One mistake could end your life. I wonder what my life would have been like with his father. I never known him without that jumpsuit in that cell. When that happened, the landlord told her, you have a month to get out. 5 kids and a 2-month-old. What do you do in that situation? It's an unknown world. The house that I used to live in was just one room. 6 people, me, my brother, 3 sisters, and my mom. We just lived in that one room. We slept on top of each other. That's all my mom could afford. She didn't know no English. She can't land a good job. Minimum wage, just for that little house. We still could barely make ends meet. My mom was such a hard worker, but then she also needed help. And then that's what public housing offered us. It gives you the tools in life to become successful. Where I used to live at, it didn't give you the opportunity to become something in life. Because in life, you could have 3 paths I've learned. You could either become successful, you could become dead, or you could end up in prison. Do you want to end up dead? Do you want to end up in prison, or do you want to end up successful? When I was around 13, some in my neighborhood got shot and passed away. That's something that you obviously see, and you're like, what happens if if you could change someone's life. I always see that quote right here passing by, be the change you want to see in the world. You want to see a change in the world, then you gotta be that change in the world. So if I want these kids to go to college, I want them to get in the right path, then I have to do it. And then that's something, a police officer can make that change. It's the thing that I want the most in life. Nobody deserves to live in a community where they don't feel safe. Well, I want to become that kind of mentor in their life, because I know I've had a mentor in my life, which is my mother. But I know if there's other people that don't get a chance to have not even one single mentor. I want to be that officer, making that change, that difference in life.
Surrounded by disorder and danger, Rosalia wants to be that change. He wants to become a police officer. For Stephanie, the disorder and danger came at the hands of an abusive ex-husband. She fled for safety, but in doing so, everything fell apart. She can no longer dream, only long for stability.
There are a lot of doors in the head of a victim. A lot. So many that you can forget what day it is. So to be able to hide from what's really going on, that's the way to do it. There was physical abuse. There were some very severe moments of physical abuse. My kids now have witnessed violence that I wish I could just pull out of their memory banks. And they have felt and seen things that I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. As much as you love somebody, you can't fix their mind and you can't fix their heart. So when he decided to go, it was my opportunity to get away. I moved back home with my dad. A couple years later, Dad was crossing the street to go to the ATM machine, and a truck came out of nowhere and hit him and killed him. It was the beginning of the avalanche.
Stephanie's journey brought her to Ray, a true partner. And as her dreams were put on hold, his were too.
So I started making music around 1995. I'm spending 2 hours at the record shop looking for music to sample, and then coming home, listening to music, making it. That was, my day. I was a special ed assistant for the Los Angeles Unified School District. I resigned to work on that plan of getting to my music career, and from that point on, it was the ball's rolling. I'm gonna do, this is where it's gonna go. I meet my fiance October of that same year. But she lived far, I lived far, so we would see each other maybe once or twice a month, but mostly we were just talking. Maybe the week after I resigned, that's when we started to get serious. The week after I decided to resign. So it's like, hopefully I can get some work doing, something with music. But that same year, her dad gets killed in a car crash.
Sometimes when something's pulled out from under you, you just don't know when it's gonna stop.
A couple months before that, my mom had a pretty big spill. She required some stitches in her lip and her forehead. She fell and hit her face on the floor.
My sister, without telling anybody, sells the house. We had a month from the time we found out to pack up our stuff and go.
Things add up. People getting sick here and having to pay for that, or living off your retirement money, and there it is. You have no money, you're getting evicted from the places you live in. Where do you go?
Nobody can escape homelessness. How many people live paycheck to paycheck? Anybody who does that is subject to it. My resume looks pretty good. I've had a few $125,000 years. I still ended up in a mission. I still ended up in a homeless shelter. It can happen to anyone.
%70 of homeless people work. So the idea that homeless people aren't working or that they don't work or don't care to work. Actually, you look at all the homeless folks, the strong majority of them actually have jobs and actually work, and many of them want to work more. There's no fundamental difference between a homeless person and a non-homeless person for the most part, other than they don't have money. They had a bankruptcy. They had a medical problem. They lost a job, and now all of a sudden they're on the street, and they're exactly like most other American citizens.
We're more vulnerable than we realize. One setback after another took everything away from Stephanie and Ray, who soon found themselves living on the street with their kids. Even with a full-time job, Byron's family sought the support of public housing to create a stronger stability. Rosalio's family sought public housing as a means to get back to work and rebuild their foundation.
How is it that a single mother, no English, doesn't have no experience in the States, raised 5 kids and got every single kid to go to college? She worked so much and so hard all her life that her heels are giving out on her. You know, I saw her every day coming at midnight, you know, walking home at midnight. To this day, I ask myself, I don't know how she did it.
With a strong foundation, achieving higher education is now possible for Rosalio.
In the environment I lived in, especially over in the other street, you can't study in that little room. You can't do homework. You can't have your own space. You know, we can't afford a computer, so how are we gonna do our schoolwork? How are we gonna save up to get a car to drive to school? My mom went in a step season this household. She would barely even like B's. She would be like, you better get an A. I did not work this much for you to fail in life. Right now, my junior year of attending Cal State Northridge. I'm gonna graduate spring 2016 with a bachelor's degree in sociology, and it's with an emphasis in criminology and criminal justice. It's kind of hard to balance it out because sometimes you just don't have no life. I never had a day off because I would go to school Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and then I would go to work that same day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and then start all over again Monday. So it's like, yeah, I thought about giving up, but then I think about my mom, and I'm like, man, she didn't give up through her time, which is like 10 times harder than mine, and there's no way I'm gonna give up, you know? I want it so badly that I will stop at nothing to be where I want to be.
Rosalio knows that he can be a positive force in his community because of the support of a mentor, his mother. Byron, too, has an incredible mentor to help him cross the bridge between who he is and who he wants to become.
You know, as soon as I had the interest in Southern Ride for the first time and told my mom, and she just took it and ran with it.
Clifton comes to me one day, Dr. Clapper, I need you to do me a favor. There is a ward clerk, she's a friend of mine, and she has a son, Byron, and he wants to be a doctor.
So the next day he came to my area where I was working. He said, Sharice, I like your boy. And I said, well, Dr. Clapper, you know, he's really smart. Can you show him some things or guide him in that direction?
And she pretty much, I'm sure, was just going to bat for me like, you need to meet my son.
Byron came and I said, all right, you'll meet me in my office and I will put a white coat on you and I will introduce you to my patients that you are being mentored by me. You'll see me examine them and we'll look at x-rays together. Next day we went to surgery.
You know, as a young person, that just got me excited. Just excited about medicine. You go from a young grandmother who's just kind of sitting on the couch all day with a knee that's non-functional because she can barely walk. And then, you know, just seeing the joy on their face when she comes in and say, oh my God, I can pick up my grandchild again. Oh my God, I can walk again. I'm like, man, no, that's making an impact. When you can change somebody's life. Leaving the office after that is like, what else would you want to do?
I felt like I was a part of him through the whole process. Clifton said, you know, Dr. Clapper, you've been so nice to Byron, and he really thinks the world of you. He wants to show off to you, and he's playing in a championship game against Crenshaw. So I said to my daughter, let's go to the game.
It's kind of a sense of wow, like, this busy doctor who has probably tons of things to do came to my game to see me play.
But I loved it because I got to sit in the stands and watch him. And it was like watching those F-16 fighter jets. You know, when the fire comes out of that rocket, that's their engines. That was Byron. I got to see him being the surgeon in his operating room. It was unbelievable to watch. He said to me after the game, he said, Dr. Clapper, I want to say thank you. What can I do? What can I do to say thank you to you? It's not enough. I said, okay, this is what I want from you, Byron. You know, I have Wilt Chamberlain's jersey he gave me. I want your jersey. He says, my jersey? What are you gonna do with it? I said, because it should hang in my office next to all the other athletes.
Lo and behold, I look to the right. There's my high school jersey next to Iverson and Wilt Chamberlain, of all people, right? Of me with my little senior photo there, and I'm like, what is going on?
And I tell you, that's one of the things I'm most proud of. Wilt Chamberlain's great, but I love having a Byron Ellis jersey.
And then that's when it came down to the point of like, wow, he must think I'm really special. That if he can kind of believe in me, maybe I can do this.
A home makes you whole in others' eyes, allowing them to see you and believe in you. Without it, worth and potential go unnoticed, unvalued. Home is that difference. In many ways, home makes you human.
And if you don't have that home, if you don't have that place that you can go at night and lay down in and call your own and kind of give you a foundation, a hearth from which to go out and face the challenges you're going to face. If you don't have that, I just don't know how you build any kind of life at all.
And that was that point when it was like, there's nothing else. The next day we went to the Union Rescue Mission. The first couple nights we were there, we saw a guy smoking crack right outside the door of the mission. You kind of just want to put your kids in a bubble and walk them as far and fast as possible. And you let them know, this is not okay and it's not normal. There are some things that are hard to explain. Very hard to explain. And especially to a 7-year-old.
That's no place for a person with a family and kids, no place. No place for children.
Skid Row is one of the saddest places I've ever seen. Skid Row is a place where the shoes on a man's feet are worth more than the man wearing them. Homelessness will take your health, take your money. It takes away your dignity. And it's not just the dignity you give yourself. It's the dignity that you see other people have for you. Once you say, I'm homeless, it's like your character is out the window. Because now they've stopped listening. Now they've stepped over you.
The experience of being homeless disintegrates you, leads you into alcohol abuse, leads you into mental issues, leads you into instability, leads you into like a vicious cycle of downward spiral. It's not because they've got some fundamental behavioral flaw. We have structured a social whirlwind that purposely tears people to pieces when they become homeless, and then are surprised that we have all these, shattered people on our streets.
At the mission, you're herded like cattle. You have to get through it. What's the option? There's not a place you live. You can't live in a place like that. You exist there, but you can't live there.
First month, I got no sleep. Since we weren't married, and they don't allow men on the same floor with the families, I had to sleep on the second floor, and they were on the third floor. So I'm sleeping in the dorm with 300 guys, and somebody might wake up and just decide I'm gonna stab someone tonight. Who knows, you never know.
We were forced to get comfortable in an environment that was so uncomfortable. I mean, anybody who's forced to live in a place where human beings will walk over one another, abuse one another, out in the open, abuse themselves. And to be told that that's your only chance for rescue. How can people leave without being traumatized?
You live by shelter rules. You're often kicked out of the shelter at 4 in the morning on like a cold, cold winter day with nowhere to go. Then you get up the next day and now you've got to you get your stuff together and maybe you got to go, down to check into the next place to see if you got a job. And then you got to go to this next place that's going to take 3 hours to maybe get some food assistance. Then back to the shelter to stand in line. And your whole day is consumed going here to here to here to get a few services, to try to get a job, to try to make it through the day. So it's, even if you're in the shelters, incredibly stressful, undignified, demeaning, kind of dehumanizing experience.
You learn to figure out what's more important. We can only see each other for 20 minutes a day. Okay, well, let's fill that 20 minutes with as much love as I can possibly get. There are a few parks we go to, we hang out at the park. And that's how we kept it together.
Sophie was my sunshine every morning. As cold as it got, as terrible as it was sometimes, Sophie was my sunshine. And Sophie was so sick while we were at the shelter, it was ridiculous. She was fighting for months. No matter how bad she felt, she would turn over and look at me and smile. How is it not in you to fight and have the drive to do whatever it takes to get your family safe?
We have the best chance if we just work together. If we work together, we can make it through this. Everything after this is gonna be easy, because this shit's hard.
Ray and Stephanie learn of different programs to assist with the move into public housing. But with units scarce and waiting lists long, it wouldn't be an easy process.
On any given night in America, there's 150,000 people sleeping on the streets. There aren't shelter spaces, there aren't private market housing, they have to sleep on the streets. You will typically have about a 2-year waiting list just to get a Section 8 housing voucher. The budget for new public housing construction in America today is essentially zero.
Despite the odds, they began to apply everywhere they could.
I just kept making calls. Any application we had, we filled out.
While that was going on, we only had a couple of more weeks left in the shelter. They can refer you to a different shelter, but most shelters around that time are full because it was Christmas time. That was the main goal, get them someplace for Christmas.
We got the call from the apartment and us still on edge going, no, this is it. We're just gonna keep doing what we need to do because we don't wanna rely on this and then be disappointed.
I knew we were approved because she was already smiling over the phone. Because I'm right there. Everything just felt wonderful on the inside. We're finally getting that next step to becoming a stable family.
Tens of thousands of units in big cities we used to have. That lasted until about 1979. And then we reversed that commitment and began to systematically tear down and destroy public housing. So we have hundreds of thousands of fewer low-income housing units than we need nationwide.
And with the stability of family, Byron too works toward his dream of becoming a doctor as he takes the MCAT. Even though the stability of home puts Byron on solid footing, his success is still far from easy.
Glucose transporters here along the blood-brain barrier and vasodilation. In some ways,
if you don't know, the big test is the MCAT. That's the one, the admissions exam that kind of objectively puts you in a category. Because, with different schools, different curriculums.
So, this is what the EEG signal looks like that you might record with an electrocardiogram there for reference.
And I eventually took the test, and I didn't do too well. My score wasn't even close to average. It was below average. And I tried hard, studied hard. And it's a big test. The people look at that test very seriously. And I applied to medical school and got a couple interviews, but didn't get in. So that was the bigger blow. Kind of question after all that hard work is like, man, is this really gonna happen? Like I said, I had to sit down and ask myself, is this really for you? Do you really want to go through this again? Because it was already you put in all that work in undergrad and it's like, all right, I made it. This is it. This is my time. And then somebody tells you, well, actually it's not. And I was like, all right, it's just one minor setback. So I decided to go back, take some summer classes and get my EMT basic license because I got to stay
kind of relevant in the medical field. And then that's when the second time rolled around when I'm like, all right, well, I have a little more experience under my belt. I also have some of the research and some of the clinical under my belt. Talked to a few of my mentors and, score is not everything. That's what they kept telling me. So why don't you go apply again? So after all that advice and all the extra hard work, I did. And it didn't happen again. So this is number 2, not getting into medical school. Had to make a decision. This was pretty much one of the first big, I guess, decisions I had to make in my life. It was either stay in Colorado and kind of take a chance on myself and say, all right, you need to figure this out, or I could just go back home, regroup, and figure it out from there. But I say, you know what? I'm gonna do what I have to do to make it. So I took a job at King Soopers, night shift, stocking groceries, and said, you know what? This is gonna be a temporary fix. This is gonna be temporary. Let's say it's 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. That's prime hours for us to kind of put stuff on the shelves and see out the corner of my eye, somebody kind of looking at me like, who's that? I'm like, I'm just kind of doing my own thing, whatever. Somebody comes up to me, he's like, hey, Byron, is that you? I'm like, yeah, it's me. And I'm like, all right, what's up? It's like, what's up with you? They kind of had this shocked look on their face like, hey, man, I thought you were supposed to go to medical school and you're going to become a doctor and do that whole deal. And honestly, I didn't even have an answer. I was just kind of down on myself. I didn't have a straight answer. I just said, I'm working on it. That's all I can really say. And your friend comes to you after a night of, I'm pretty sure they're out partying or something. And they see you coming stocking groceries like, man, that's when I realized, like, what the heck am I doing? What am I doing with myself? And yeah, I'm not making much at all. I'm over there eating cereal and ramen just to get by. It was a rough time. And I was like feeling bad for myself, feeling down on myself. And I'm like, all right, enough is enough. I went and took it upon myself to go to the Anschutz campus, go back to my pre-med advisors and say, hey, what am I doing wrong? What can I do to know that I'm the person too behind that below average number? I didn't want that number to define who I am. Every day I would tell myself, all I need is one person to take a chance on me. That was my one big break. The one person that took a chance on me suggested that I may be right for this program, where I need to take additional schooling, kind of prepare me a little bit more for medical school. But the catch was, they would pay for the classes, but you would have to pay for your living. But the kicker was, they said they don't recommend us working. And I'm like, how are we supposed to get by? And that was a whole another crossroads where I kind of had to call my mom. I already know we don't have much.
And I remember the day he called me, he says, oh, Mom, I can't work. He was like, but I gotta get into this program. And I had just paid my last car note in July. And I said, well, what do you need? And he said, I need you to pay my rent for like a year. I said, well, how much is it? And he said, $500. I said, I got you.
Worked my tail off. You have to get over a 3.75 GPA while taking undergraduate as well as graduate courses. So just imagine 16 credits of just all science, hardcore science, getting down to the nitty-gritty and making sure you're prepared for the rigorous schedule of medical school. Acceptance letters come around and they kind of prepped us for it, but they didn't say exactly when it was coming and just waiting to pick up the mail. And it's a letter from the Anschutz campus. You can see they have their stamp on there, and I'm like, all right, man, this is it. First word says congratulations. You don't read the West. You just know that you're in, and it's like, I just took a big, huge breath and let it out, man. Reliving it right now, it's kind of giving me chills. This is what happened at the time. It just gave me chills. Water came to my eyes and said, man, worked so damn hard for this.
When emergencies arise and other needs surface, public housing allows disaster to be avoided. Rosalio is able to get a car for the 1-hour drive to school, a computer to help him study, And Byron's mother has the resources to step in and assist her son when he needs it most, crucial to his journey of becoming a doctor. As Byron and his family knock down the obstacles before them, Ray and Stephanie unlock the door to their new home, both possible thanks to public housing.
This is our first apartment together as a family, and we can start fresh as a family.
The biggest thing in the world, he's now taken care of. Everything else that I didn't think about before, couldn't think about, couldn't stop and sit down and dream on. You can't dream when you're struggling just to live.
I'm not on the outside looking in for a change, and instead of looking outside the picket fence, we actually are inside the picket fence looking outside now. It's finally here.
When I got my kitchen unpacked, that's when it felt like home. Even my oldest daughter came over and she goes, "Feels like home now, huh?" Yeah, it feels like home.
I can actually focus and deal with my family, and we can come up with plans together. The clarity is there now. We can see it. It's almost like we can touch it. The picture is clear.
With public housing in such high demand, yet short supply, moving out and providing an opportunity for the next person is as important a part of the process as moving in.
My mom's always proud of me, but this was the one moment I can be very proud of her, because this woman deserves it. She worked so hard for so many years. Man, they just deserve it. You bought a house. I didn't say that. The most important part. We moved. Yeah, we didn't move out and move on the street. Moved out and bought a house.
This home means to me that I have come a long way. We're in. We worked really hard for this home. The first night sleeping here, woke up and I looked at all this space and I'm like, is this real? Start putting stuff, it's fine. Home is love. Home is being with each other, laughter, having fun. I have so many pictures. We had a lot of laughs.
We didn't never know he was gonna go to Colorado. He has on a Colorado in what, that was 6th grade, 7th grade? Remember that? Yeah. I'm showing Kevin this picture. Oh my God, they look so young. Look at Byron to this day, you guys.
We have many good studies and evidence to this fact at this point that indicate that if we be sure that kind of foundations are taken care of, that when the market is not providing enough housing, we as a society will help fill in those gaps, and we'll be sure that everybody has support and has housing, that when we provide that foundation, people are more able to be responsible and to go to school and finish their degree, to hold their job and keep a job, to take care of their kids in the proper way. You take care of that foundation and people will, in fact, then hold their job. Plenty of evidence on that. You provide housing first, and people will tend to do drugs and alcohol less, hold their jobs longer, and be less of a burden on society. So providing people with a minimum of dignity does not make them less responsible. It actually helps them be more responsible.
Rosalio continues to chase his dream of becoming a police officer. To stand out from other applicants, he gets a job as a security guard at a local mall for relevant job experience. And he is signed up for a ride-along to shadow a police officer, his first real insight into what his future may hold.
Looking forward to today?
I'm looking forward to today.
I heard your cadet interview went well.
Yeah, it went good. I brought the application today, the background application.
Okay.
My main focus is I want to get into Ventura Police Department because since I've been living here all my life in the city of Ventura, I want to see the change happen where I grew up.
Fantastic.
Hopefully I'll be in your footsteps one day. It will be a blessing to have your position one day.
Well, let's get rid of hopefully first.
Hopefully, I will get to your position.
The steps will be there for you if you're willing to take them. You'll have a career that you can be very proud of, right?
Thank you, man.
All right, let's go.
become a police officer. I feel the best thing ever. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not much of a crier. I don't really cry from anything, but I think I shed a tear because it's just like everything you've been working hard for 21 years, it like finally became reality. And just to have that feeling would be such a rush. And then looking over and see my mom, you know, smile at me, you know, it'd be the best feeling ever.
For Byron, the journey ends on a high note. The day has come when he can finally see his dream realized.
Life has many passages, the transitions from one period to another, often marked by ceremonies that have evolved over hundreds and hundreds of years. Today, we honor their effort and achievement. It is my great pleasure to present them to you, the University of Colorado Anschutz Medical Campus Class of 2015.
When they hand me the diploma, I think that's when it might hit me, and then seeing my family cheer and go crazy, I think that's when it really hit me.
Today is a celebration of graduation, and the focus is on, understandably, on our medical students and future doctors. And I'd like to take a moment to recognize the friends and family that have been responsible for getting our graduates to where they are today.
Shelby Badani has a bachelor's in biology and chemistry from Manchester College and a master's in public health. Joshua Bailey has a bachelor's in biochemistry and religion from Baylor University and a long-standing interest. David Elison has a bachelor's in biology from the University of Montana and a long-standing passion for teaching.
It's number one, I gotta thank my mother. She has always been there, always been my biggest fan. The love she gives and always being encouraging and telling me never to give up, even when I was at my lowest point. She was always my biggest conscience to saying, you know, I believe in you. I know you can do it. It's in you. You know, don't give up.
Byron Ellis has a bachelor's in integrative physiology from the University of Colorado Boulder, where he was a Division I football player. He has been active with orthopedic research as well as the Colorado Black Health Collaborative. He thanks his family for their love and support, and the Tribble family, especially Rebecca, for being there. Byron is hooded by his mentor, Dr. Robert Wynn. Dr. Ellis will do his residency. We salute the class of 2015.
They may be fulfilled on stage, but dreams start at home.
Whether they're public housing or tiny homes people can build for themselves, anytime we let people start having a real unit, on all those measures, we have immediate and quick improvement. It's called a housing first model. Simply make sure that people have their own housing unit, and you'll have solved a dramatic number of problems with homelessness. It's shocking that the solution to homelessness is actually to let people have a home, and you've kind of solved it.
Now, safe inside, on firm footing, with their shoes beside the door, Stephanie and Ray embrace planning their next years, months, and weeks, no longer navigating the perils of the day's minutes and hours.
Nothing this difficult could produce emptiness. I'm planning my business. I'm planning my restaurant. Comfort food, for me, there's heart in it. And so to be able to do that, cook the way I love to, and love people by cooking for them, that's my dream. I have seen human beings be so inhumane that I want to take it back to a place where people acknowledge one another and understand that this is what caring for people is. So if I can give what I know so that somebody else can give it to somebody else, even if all it is kindness and love, I'm gonna do that. Because that's what I'm here for.
How's it going?
Hi, Dan.
Ray, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. How's it going?
A year and a half from next month, I'll have a bachelor's in music production. I'm finally in school. And yeah, I'm the old man in the class, but I'm finally in school. And it's like the dream has been underlined in like 25 different colors now. There's no questioning behind it. I will be able to do this. Like, wake up in the morning, make beats.
All right, great. You want to print this down?
Sure.
Let's do it.
In pursuit of his dream to become a police officer, Rosalio applies for the cadet program.
Hello.
Can I help you?
I'm here to turn in my application.
Okay, I'll make sure to get it.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Have a good day.
The chase ends in victory. Rosalio gets in.
I would say public housing, give families a chance to build a life and pretty much get on their feet to something greater.
If it wasn't for this place and the system, I'd be on the street with kids. Still.
The house that I used to live in is like a cage. Okay, you can't get out of it. Now, think of a public housing that's coming to that cage and freeing you up. You finally get the opportunity to become the person, you know, that you always wanted to be. Here you go. Now you have hope. I'm gonna open this cage up for you. I'm gonna give you a ladder. It's gonna take hard work, dedication, determination. Now it's all up to you if you want to climb the ladder or not. Fortunately, my mom said, let's climb that ladder.
I imagine and hope that anybody watching a film like this or really looking at their community also feels how deeply spiritual and moral a calling this is. There is something wrong with a society that divides us from each other, looks down on those that are down on their luck, and when those that have opportunities look down at those and are cruel, that should say something kind of profound about us. And I don't really think it's where Americans are. So that's what I would hope, is they come to this and come to a better place.
Embracing his place in the community, Byron encourages young kids with an interest in medicine to go after their dreams.
Guys, this is Byron Ellis. He grew up here, lived in one of the buildings, and went to college and just recently graduated from medical school.
I want to be a role model.
He's an African-American man, male. When he graduated, 247 students. He was only black. So that's saying a lot, saying where you came from or who you're gonna be.
I love science. I was good at science. And you guys good at science? Love science? Good. Cool.
I want to be a pediatrician. I want to be a nurse that go to houses and help old people. I just want to be like someone that helps give birth with the baby. I want to be emergency doctor.
When I get up out of bed in the morning and say, hey man, this is for that kid in the projects that didn't have a role model, that didn't know that this was possible. But they need to see it's possible, man. It's possible.
Quitters don't live here. It's tough living here. Just because you live here, don't let these surroundings define you. This is just a small part of you. This is gonna make you stronger. You can accomplish anything you want if you put your mind to it and you want it bad enough. I believe in each and every one of you. I believe in you, I believe in you, I believe you, and I believe in you.
There is a way for all of us to get there, to find our way home, to be in a place where it's possible to be seen, where it's possible to dream. To see the full breadth of our vulnerability is to see the full potential of our opportunity, an opportunity to support public housing in our neighborhoods. When we see people as whole individuals, as complete beings, not a description of their circumstance, we see the capacity of our compassion expand. We can create and support communities in which all of us can dream. All of us. And that begins at home. poverty cycle is so difficult to break because when you don't have a physical address, you really can't get a job, and I didn't have a great skill set, frankly, anyway. I started writing songs, and I started telling all my worst secrets on myself, all the things I was most afraid of sharing, all the things I was thinking would make me unlovable if anybody knew. And I found a little gig in a coffee shop in San Diego, and I started singing these songs, and I was very afraid the first time. And amazingly, when I sang these songs, people didn't rebuke me. They actually accepted me. And for the first time, I felt seen in my life, because I guess I let myself be seen, really honestly, for the first time. And people felt seen, oddly, for the first time. And it was like we had this amazing connection, and it was like an addiction for me, the best kind.
Look at the roof, kinda slanted, the kind of thing someone takes for granted. Not me, oh no, you see, it's a thing of beauty. It may not look like much to you, but that's okay, it does not have to. I see you stare, sometimes glare. The thing you don't know is there's love in here. A house is more than what you fill it with, you see, to me. It's the basic human right for dignity and safety. That's home. Oh, wow, wow. That's home to me. Oh, wow, wow. Stop, rethink, question the things you see. Know everything on TV in real life has deeper meaning. A house is not a luxury, it's more than four walls and a foundation. It's education, shelter from life's stormy situations. And there, but for the grace of God, go I. So I count my blessings every night, 'cause real strength is staying positive. That's home.